Hello everybody, Thomas here, and welcome back to SFF180. I am back once again at long last with Mailbag Monday for December the 5th, 2016. How's everybody doing? I am slowly kind of getting settled into my new environment. This right here, you might recognize this setting from an earlier video, but this is not going to be my permanent sort of video set, as it were. Just kind of a temporary stopgap while I work on the long, slow process of putting my office together. As you see here, it's all still just empty shelves and boxes and things that I am slowly plugging in and setting up, although, well, I do have the most important thing ready to go, as you see. Yeah, I'm enjoying this, but it's time to get caught up with regular content, back to reading, back to reviewing, and back to the mailbag. This is the hiatus edition. This is going to be everything that I have received since the last mailbag, which was at the very end of October. So this is pretty much all of November that you're going to see here. And you might be surprised, it's not perhaps quite as much content, not as many books as you might expect. I don't think it's going to be quite as big as that massive 37-minute mailbag I did a couple of months ago. Although you don't seem to mind those. That still is my highest viewed mailbag of all time. So I guess you like it when I just bring the books in a big flood. But there's plenty of stuff here to go over. Some of this stuff is already going to be out in stores because of the time elapsed. But, you know, you may not have seen quite a lot of it, so I'm just going to go through all of it. And otherwise, thank you all for joining me. Thank you all for the continued channel support. And without further ado, let's get into these books, shall we? And this first one is a big package from the fine folks at Random Penguin. Multiple items in this big bag, obviously. Yes, they are. They are multiple items from the Random Penguin imprints, various imprints. And this one, first off, is a paperback from best-selling urban fantasy writer Carrie Arthur. This is called Winter Halo, and apparently it is something in a series of hers called the Outcast novels. I don't really read those, to be honest with me. I don't really read much of her stuff, but I know she has a lot of fans out there. Is this a new series? Because this looks more like the kind of thing, just judging by the cover, I might read than some of her others. But let's see. The humanoid super soldiers, known as the Déchets, I guess that's how you pronounce it, were almost eradicated by the war. Ever since, Tiger has tried to live her life peacefully in hiding. But in the wake of her discovery that Central City's children are being kidnapped and experimented on, Tiger's conscience won't let her look the other way. The key to saving the children lies within the walls of a pharmaceutical company called Winter Halo. But as she learns more about the facility, Tiger's mission is derailed by a complication. Winter Halo's female security guards are being systematically attacked by an unknown force. Gasp. Now, Tiger must summon all her gifts to stop those responsible for both atrocities, no matter the cost to herself. Well, this could be, you know, kind of goofy popcorn fun, but this is from Carrie Arthur, and there's no sell sheet with it, no date, but apparently there was a book in the series before this one called City of Light. So this is book 2, Winter Halo. And coming up next we have Dreamweaver. This is a new fantasy novel by C.S. Friedman, and it is the third volume in the trilogy called the Dreamwalker Chronicles, which is described as nerve-twisting and fascinating by Tamora Pierce, who really likes them. Its siblings Jesse and Tommy are tangled in a murderous genetic bait-and-switch that transcends worlds and time, not knowing who is trustworthy and who is deadly. There's no easy answer in sight, only more questions, more danger, and more treachery. Okay, so this is, again, a DAW title for December. Dreamweaver, I guess, finishes out the Dreamwalker trilogy. And next up we have this one, which I'm really happy to see. This comes from Ace, December title from Ace. This is by Stella Gemmell, and it's called The Immortal Throne, and it is a sequel to a novel that she came out with a couple of years ago called The City, which I really, really need to read. Stella Gemmell, as some of you might know, is the widow of David Gemmell, a very popular heroic fantasy writer who died prematurely, sadly, about, I'd say 10 or so years, no, about 5 or 6 years ago. I always really liked the work of David Gemmell. I felt that he was grossly underappreciated as a fantasy writer, critically. And his final trilogy, the Troy trilogy, which is a historical fantasy, as it were, more of a crypto-history, more closer to Guy Gavriel Kay, really, than anything else, was a powerful, wonderful piece of work. And he died before he completed that trilogy, and the final novel was completed by Stella. they both share the byline on the cover, and you literally can't tell. There's no seam, right? There's no way to, there's no obvious switch from where, David left off and Stella took over. Her writing is just really on point. And so this is now her own solo series, and The Immortal Throne comes out from Ace in December. And it appears to be very much a George R. R. Martin-y sort of, war-torn epic fantasy kind of a thing, and very much also like, her husband's work. I guess I don't really want to give away too much here, spoilers for the first book, but count on cities ravaged by war and, that sort of thing. But the Immortal Throne comes out, like I said, in December from Ace Books. Let me know in the comments. And next up we have A Season of Spells. This is also from Ace Books. The author is Sylvia Izzo Hunter. And the impression I get is that this will appeal very much to readers of Gaslamp fantasy, Victorian fantasy, just as well as historical fantasy in general. This is, I would say, looks like it's about the fourth in a series of books. Earlier volumes include Lady of Magic. And just to give you a general idea of what it's all about, Sophie and Grey Marshall must save the Kingdom of Britain from a tide of dark magic. 3 years after taking up residence at the University of Dun Edin, Sophie and Grey return to London, escorting Lucia McNeil, heiress of Alba, to meet the British prince to whom she is betrothed. Alas, sparks failed to fly between the pragmatic Lucia and the romantic Prince Roland, and the marriage alliance seems to be on shaky ground. Sophie tries to forge a connection between Roland and Lucia by enlisting them both in her latest scheme, reopening the mysterious and long-shuttered women's college at Oxford. Though a vocal contingent believes that educating women spells ruin, Sophie and her friends dream of rebuilding the college for a new generation of women scholars. But the future of the college and of the kingdom is imperiled when the men who tried to poison King Henry escape from prison and vanish without a trace. Sophie and Grey will need all their strength and ingenuity and the help of friends both present and long past to thwart the enemy at Britain's gates. So there we are, A Season of Spells by Sylvia Izzo Hunter. It comes out from Ace this month. And next up we have a little box from the Hatchet Group, which probably means Orbit. And it is from Orbit. This is a book that I happen to know is already out on the shelves right now. It's called The Shadow of What Was Lost. The author is James Islington, and as I understand, this was published a few years ago, either self-published or in a small press, and then it has been revised somewhat for its mainstream publishing debut from Orbit. It's the first book in something called the Lacanius Trilogy. And right here it says, do you love the Wheel of Time? This is about to become your new favorite series. So it's that kind of epic fantasy. No sell sheet as per usual with Orbit. So let me just kind of read from the flap here. It says, as destiny calls, a journey begins. It has been 20 years since the godlike augurs were overthrown and killed. Now, those who once served them, the gifted, are spared only because they have accepted the rebellion's 4 tenets, vastly limiting their own powers. As a gifted, Davian suffers the consequences of a war lost before he was even born. He and others like him are despised, but when Davian discovers he wields the forbidden power of the augurs, he sets into motion a chain of events that will change everything. To the west, a young man whose fate is intertwined with Davian's wakes up in the forest, covered in blood and with no memory of who he is. And in the far north, an ancient enemy long thought defeated begins to stir. So there you are. The Shadow of What Was Lost from James Islington. It's a bit of a tome here. I'm looking at something in the close to 700-page realm in hardcover. So let me know in the comments if you want me to go ahead and push this up the review queue. And here we have a white envelope, which usually denotes a Tor title. And it is. We're back to science fiction with the new novel by Ben Bova. This is called Apes and Angels. And this is one more volume in his ongoing Grand Tour series of novels, which takes us all throughout the solar system. I'm glad that, their attention is being paid to our little solar system in science fiction. We have a wonderful little mini, just realm of great science fiction landscapes and settings right here in our backyard, and we don't have to travel across the universe to do exciting, cool stuff. But let's see, this is the conclusion of a little saga within the saga, the StarQuest trilogy. So it's the sequel to Deathwave and New Earth, both of which I have. And this came out already November 22nd. It says, humankind headed out to the stars not for conquest nor exploration, nor even for curiosity. Humans went to the stars in a desperate crusade to save intelligent life wherever they found it. A wave of death is spreading through the Milky Way galaxy, an expanding sphere of lethal gamma radiation that erupted from the galaxy's core 28,000 years ago and is now approaching Earth's vicinity at the speed of light. Every world it touched was wiped clean of all life, but it's possible to protect a planet from gamma radiation. Earth is safe. Now, guided by the ancient intelligent machines called the predecessors, men and women from Earth seek out those precious rare worlds that harbor intelligent species determined to save them from the doom that is hurtling toward them. The crew of the Odysseus has arrived at Mithra Gamma, the third planet of the star Mithra, to protect the Stone Age inhabitants from the death wave, but they'll also have to protect themselves. So here we go, Apes and Angels, now available from Tor Books. So hooray, we're all about, saving the universe like the Enterprise. Okay, this one is one that comes from Pan Macmillan in the UK, and I'm pretty sure I know what this one is all about here. Okay, as I thought, this is a new novel by Gary Gibson from Tor UK. It's called Survival Game, and it is the second in a series following a book called Extinction Game, which looks to be very much like apocalyptic SF. Gary tweeted a couple of months ago, I guess looking for reviewers for this book, and I said, of course I'm interested. Always interested in new SF, and so what he did was he got Tor SF to send me, Tor UK to send me this, and then he sent me, because I didn't have it, he sent me an electronic copy of the earlier book, and so I guess I will be doing some back-to-back reviews of both of these fairly soon. But let's see what I can read that won't spoil too much. It says, the artifact destroyed an ancient civilization, but will they be next? Katya is a scientist working on a classified project for the Russian Empire. She's also desperate. Her bosses want to exploit her knowledge and send her on an incredible dangerous mission, and if she refuses, her father's life will be forfeit. It's just like those sneaky Russians. Katya must retrieve an artifact that could grant new life to the dying Russian Tsar. She's therefore being sent deep undercover on an alternate version of Earth to an American-controlled island. Here, Borodin, the Tsar's spymaster, will be watching her. On the island, okay, Oxford comments, people, they help. Katya and Jerry, an American adventurer from form an uneasy alliance. I'm going to try that sentence again. On the island, Katya and Jerry, an American adventurer, form an uneasy alliance. Not doing too well with reading today, you guys. They discover the artifact will call down terror from the depths of space, yet Katya's superiors refuse to listen. But Katya and Jerry's worlds face extinction, so the artifact must be destroyed at any cost. Two civilizations depend upon it. So we have Extinction Game, followed by Survival Game by Gary Gibson, now from Tor in the UK. All right, next up we have this attractive-looking tome. This is a new young adult novel from Simon Pulse. The author here is Sarah Rawley, and it's called Fate of Flames, and apparently it is the first book in a new series called The Effigies, and I believe that she is a debut writer. So let's see what this one has to offer. It says, years ago, everything changed. Phantoms, massive beasts of nightmare, began terrorizing the world. At the same time, 4 girls, the Effigies, appeared, each with unique power to control a classical element. Since then, they have protected the world from the Phantoms. At the death of one Effigy, another is chosen, pulled from her normal life into the never-ending battle. When Maya unexpectedly becomes the next fire effigy, she resists her new calling. A quiet girl with few friends and almost no family, she was much happier to admire the effigies from afar. Never did she imagine having to master her ability to control fire, to protect innocent citizens from the Phantoms, or to try bringing together the 3 other effigies. But with the arrival of the mysterious Sol, a man who seems to be able to control the Phantoms, using the same cosmic power previously only granted to 4 girls at a time, Maya and the other effigies must learn to work together in a world where their celebrity is more important than their heroism. But the secrets Sol has and the power he possesses might be more than even they can handle. Alright, sounds a bit busy plot-wise, but could be fairly exciting. It's called Fate of Flames, the first book in the Effigies. It could be pretty interesting and fun. Let me know, though. The author is Sarah Rawley, and it is out now from Simon Pulse. Moving on. We have another package from Random Penguin. Okay, these are 3 mass markets from the Random Penguin imprints, and the first one comes from Daw. This is a book called Jerusalem Fire. The author is R.M. Mellick, the author of the Tales of the Merrimack military space opera series. And it's interesting. This is actually a much older book. This is a reprint from a novel from the 80s. 1985 this book came out. And R.M. Melick has a fairly interesting career. She was fairly prominent in the 80s, wrote quite a few novels, including this one. And then she kind of dropped out of sight for a while. And then she bounded back unexpectedly in the 21st century with her Tales of the Merrimack series, which I guess have sold and done fairly well for her. And so now they're bringing back some of her earlier books. So it's a career that's getting a second shot, which I like to see. But anyway, I'll just give you a brief rundown of this. Does Jerusalem stand? It was the question all human star travelers asked one another. The ancient city of Jerusalem, holy to three human religions, had become the touchstone for anyone not yet absorbed into the Naid Empire under its twin banner of galactic dominion human supremacy. Eri, a planet out of myth whose very existence could bring down an empire. Alihad. The captain was a notorious rebel runner. To most of the known galaxy he was a legend without a face. To the rest, a face without a name. He was called Alihad. He left. Which I guess is what that means. It was the word Naid enforcers heard when they demanded to know where the rebel had gone, and always one step ahead, as if he knew his enemy very well. Hero, villain, coward, 3 times a legend on both sides of the same war. When legend and myth meet reality, who and what will survive? So, Jerusalem Fire re-released by DAW this month. And then next up we have some continuations of some space operas, once again from women writers. This is Confluence, which is the 3rd book in the Linesman series, following Linesman and Alliance. This is a paperback original series. The author is S.K. Dunstall, which is actually a pseudonym. I believe it's, I think they're 2 sisters collaborating, I think. I'd have to look that up, but I'm pretty sure that's the case. But anyway, Confluence is the 3rd of these. The lines, mysterious yet familiar, the key to controlling every ship in the galaxy. Once they were thought of as tools, but since linesman Ian Lambert discovered strange new lines in an alien vessel, they have become so much more, symbols of a power too great to ignore. And then next we have The Blockade, which is the newest in the first Salic War series of space operas by Gene Johnson. Gene Johnson for many years was a best-selling writer of paperback romances, and then all at once she jumped into military SF with both feet, and I guess that did all right for her. But the First Salic War is underway and the Alliance is losing. Their newest allies must find a way to win or everyone will be slaughtered. So The Blockade, now available from Ace Books by Gene Johnson. Okay, this looks kind of cute, and finally, a sell sheet. How nice and convenient. This is a book by Dan Wells, who wrote a book called I Am Not a Serial Killer, so you may be familiar with his name. This is a new novel called Extreme Makeover. And it describes itself as a satirical SF thriller about a health and beauty company that destroys the world. I like the sound of it already. All right, this came out on the 15th of November. It says, Lyle Fontenelle is the chief scientist for New You, N-E-W-Y-E-W, a health and beauty company experimenting with a new anti-aging hand lotion. As more and more anomalies crop up in testing, Lyle realizes that the lotion's formula has somehow gone horribly wrong. It is actively overwriting the DNA of anyone who uses it, turning them into physical clones of someone else. Lyle wants to destroy the formula, but New You thinks it might be the greatest beauty product ever designed, and the world's governments think it's the greatest weapon. With Extreme Makeover, Dan Wells brings us a gripping corporate satire about a health and beauty company that could destroy the world. Taking on our obsessions with youth and appearance, Wells deftly spins a comically depressing conjecture of the serious consequences that can result from our culture's fixations on what's on the outside. Okay then, Extreme Makeover, and this describes itself as the Apocalypse Edition. All right then, but it came out November 15th from Tor Books, so let me know in the comments. And moving on, we have a thick little box from what looks to be Tor. All right, well here's a new one that I know a lot of people have been looking forward to, and one which I know has been released. This is Arcanum Unbounded, the Cosmere Collection, and this arrived from Tor Books on the 22nd. Let's see, this collection includes 9 works in all and is fully illustrated with breathtaking black and white images of the various planetary systems in which the stories are set. The first 8 are The Hope of Elantris, from Elantris, The 11th Metal, Mistborn Story, The Emperor's Soul, Elantris, Allomancer Jack and the Pits of Eltania, episodes 28 to 30, Mistborn, White Sand, excerpt from Taldane, okay, different worlds, Shadows for Silence in the Forests of Hell, Sixth of the Dusk, and Mistborn Secret History. So these wonderful works originally published on Tor.com and elsewhere individually, so it's all previously released material, but it's in one space all in one place for the first time. The ninth piece and crown jewel of Arcanum Unbounded, the Cosmere Collection, is Edge Dancer, an all-new 40,000-word Stormlight archive novella that will be appearing in this collection, never before published, for the first time anywhere. So there's your big selling point. But yes, Arcanum Unbounded from Brandon Sanderson, available now from Tor Books in hardcover. Yes, I suspect I'll review this one soon, but you let me know in the comments. And following that one, we have another Tor title. And here we have The Gates of Hell. The author is Michael Livingston. It is the sequel to his book The Shards of Heaven, which is one that I meant to have reviewed by now. Still intend to. But this came out on the 15th of November, and let's see. It's a historical epic fantasy set against the rise of the Roman Empire. So certainly definitely within my fandom wheelhouse right there. The secret history of Rome continues after the fall of Egypt and the Shards of Heaven. Okay, and so I guess this is after the death of Cleopatra. And it just goes on from there. Don't want to give away too much because it is a sequel, but it says it is part HBO's Rome, part Indiana Jones, a historical fantasy that reveals the hidden magic behind the history we know. This adventure full of vengeance, treachery, and duplicity set against the backdrop of the ancient Roman Empire is sure to appeal to fantasy fans and those who devour every historical detail. So out now from Tor Books by Michael Livingston, The Gates of Hell. All right, this is an ARC from Del Rey. It is a book called Conversation in Blood. The author is Paul S. Kemp, and this is the newest in a series of fantasy novels about his characters Eagle and Nyx. And these actually started out, they first came out from Angry Robot, and then Del Rey took them over. But let me see, I think the earlier volumes, it should say in here, yes, The Hammer and the Blade and A Discourse in Steel. But it says this one reads as a standalone, apparently. And it says, have a letter here from the publicist. Most fantasy heroes seek fame, destiny, or the salvation of a kingdom. Then there is Eagle and Nyx, a renegade priest and a roguish thief, and they're not those kinds of heroes. Let's see, anti-heroes Eagle and Nyx continue to seek riches and renown, but somehow it's always misadventure and mayhem that find them in their dive bar they call home. Let's see. Nyx is a nimble thief with just enough knowledge of magic to get into serious trouble. Eagle is the only priest of a discredited god. After a bout of heartbreak, all Nyx wants to do is cheer up Eagle, and of course strike it so rich that they need never worry about their combined bar bill. But when Nyx plunders a tomb and snatches mysterious golden plates covered in runes, it's never a good idea. The treasure brings terrifying trouble. Pursued by an abomination full of ravenous hunger and unquenchable wrath, Eagle and Nyx find all they hold dear, including their beloved tavern, in dire peril, to say nothing of the world itself. So, A Conversation in Blood comes out from Del Rey, January the 24th. And here from Tor Books, another one which has come out. This came out way back on the 1st of November, but it is by Stephen Erickson, and it is Wolful Child, Wrath of Betty. The sequel to Willful Child, which is a sort of space opera spoof, I guess. Let's see. Last year's Willful Child introduced readers to the continuing adventures of the not terribly bright but exceedingly cocksure Captain Hadrian Sawback and his motley crew aboard the starship ASF Willful Child, its ongoing mission to seek out strange new worlds, to subjugate them and plant the Terran flag, and to boldly stumble around the galaxy. Fleet Command has responded to the near-calamitous and downright chaotic adventures in Willful Child by sending officers to oversee its mission, and if possible make sure the brave Captain Sawbook doesn't come back alive. Add an uncooperative ship AI and aliens both friendly and unfriendly, and Captain Sawbuck has little chance of his adventures not turning into outright disasters. Okay, well here we go then. Willful Child, Wrath of Betty. I know some folks who love Stephen Erickson and got a kick out of Willful Child, and so of course the sequel is now out. Okay, I have another big book here from Tor. And back in the world of wrist-breaking tomes, this is David Weber's At the Sign of Triumph, and this is something like, I think, the 9th or 10th novel in the Safehold space opera series. This came out back on November the 8th, and let's have a look. Is there anything that I can synopsize here? This is one of these where it's such a big series and it's been going on for such a long time, you know, that either by now you're invested or you're not. But let's see. I guess a good summation of what it's all about is right here. Here's a little blurb from the Library Journal. It says it's an epic SF fantasy blend, creates a unique world in which medieval trappings serve as a buffer against an alien threat, and generations live in blissful ignorance of the danger that lurks beyond the stars. So, combining tropes, I guess, of epic fantasy and space opera. So, At the Sign of Triumph, now available from Tor Books. As you see, big, thick, heavy book, as all of these are. And, all right, well, dig in. Okay, we're getting kind of near the end, not too much longer to go. This here, all right, as you see, very much a children's picture book, Charlie the Choo Choo. It says the author is Beryl Evans, and you have little, let's see, quaint little, let me find some, little pictures like this. And except you notice how Charlie has a bit of a creepy face there, and the kids on the inside the train riding here, they don't look very happy. Maybe you can see that from here. And oh look, what's a blurb by Stephen King doing on a children's picture book? Well, apparently this little picture book ties into Stephen King's Dark Tower series. Yeah, as it says, fans of Stephen King's acclaimed Dark Tower series will recognize Charlie the Choo Choo as the picture book that shows up in Book 3, The Wastelands, written by the character Beryl Evans. An Easter egg for devoted fans, a mock-up of the book was recently distributed at San Diego Comic-Con, where over 500 fans gathered to claim one of 150 copies available. Now, in its completion, fans across the country can bring Charlie the Choo Choo to their home libraries. It says, Engineer Bob has a secret. His train engine, Charlie the Choo Choo, is alive, and also his best friend. From celebrated author Beryl Evans, aka Stephen King's, and illustrator Ned Dameron comes a story about friendship, loyalty, and hard work. All right then, scary children's books from Stephen King, and this is available, this came out on the 22nd of November. All right then, getting very, very close to the bottom. This is a book from FSG Publishers. Looks like, let's see what we have here. Okay, this is really interesting. Check this out. I'm not sure if you can tell. Well, you'll be able to. I'll turn it around. First off, the author is John Darnielle. He wrote a book a couple years ago called Wolf in White Van. It's a new book called Universal Harvester. Now have a look at this. This is a plastic VHS case. And it has like the rental bar stickers on the side, and it's got the ugly thing in the back. And yeah, pop it open like this, and look. Here's the book inside, the VHS case, Universal Harvester. Okay, so the book itself comes out in hardcover on February 7th. Let's see, it says it is, what do we have? A powerful, sneakily powerful, and virtuosically written novel set amidst the haunted open landscape of Middle America. As Universal Harvester begins the reliable day-to-day happenings in the life of Jeremy, a 20-something video rental store clerk in late 1990s Iowa, are upended by a mystery. Customers have been complaining that ominous and disturbing footage, seemingly hand-shot in a shed or barn, has been spliced onto some of the store's cassettes, from Peter Bogdanovich's Targets to the hot new release She's All That. As Jeremy's curiosity is piqued and he begins to investigate the origins of these unsettling scenes, Darnielle pulls back to tell the complementary story of their provenance. Let's see, to reveal too much more, I kind of like that. I do kind of like that, but let's see. If there are any more details that aren't too spoilery. Yeah, it sounds cool, but I don't want to give too much more away. But anyway, Universal Harvester comes out February the 7th from FSG. It's going to be in hardcover, so I don't think you'll get the VHS case with it, but I do love this. Let me know in the comments what you think. And this is volume 30 billion of Jeannie Koch's Alien series, Alien Nation. I guess these are screwball romantic comedies with space aliens. It's a typical day of bureaucracy and stress for President and First Lady Jeff and Kitty Cat Martini. Oh, well, I guess I know what happens to those characters now. Made more stressful when alien spacecraft are spotted making a beeline for Earth, none of them from the Alpha Centauri system. Let me see. Well, in all seriousness, no, yeah, there's a whole page of previous volumes. So, well then, on it goes. Alien Nation by Jeannie Koch, now from Daw Books. And finally, the last package, a tour package. And we're ending on a high note, because I always look forward to a new book by Robert Charles Wilson. This is called Last Year, and let's see, he is the author of Spin, a brilliant novel, which won the Hugo. Other novels like the Julian Comstock, absolutely great, kind of alternate future history saga. But this one comes out on the 6th, so tomorrow, from Tor. And it says, Wilson imagines a near future in which humans seek out spending time in the past for entertainment, but with possible catastrophic results. Two events made September 1st a memorable day for Jesse Cullum. First, he lost a pair of Oakley sunglasses. Second, he saved the life of President Ulysses S. Grant. It's the near future, and the technology exists to open doorways into the past, but not our past, not exactly. Each past is effectively an alternate world, identical to ours, but only up to the date in which we access it, and a given past can only be reached once. After a passageway is open, it's the only road to that particular past. Once closed, it can't be reopened. A passageway has been opened to a version of late 19th century Ohio. It's been in operation for most of a decade, but it's no secret on either side of time. A small city has grown up around it to entertain visitors from our time, and many locals earn a good living catering to them. But like all such operations, it has a shelf life. As the natives become more sophisticated, their version of the past grows less attractive as a destination. Jesse Cullum is a native, and he knows the passageway will be closing soon. He's fallen in love with a woman from our time, and he means to follow her back no matter what it takes. Okay then. So Last Year, from Robert Charles Wilson, comes out tomorrow from Tor Books. And that is all I got for this episode of the Mailbag, everybody. As always, thank you so much for joining me. You know the drill. Light up those comments. Let me know which of these looks most interesting and exciting to you, which you would like to see me prioritize in the review queue. And remember, also, if you enjoyed watching, please leave a like, share the video far and wide with all of your SFF reading friends, and above all, please subscribe if you have not already done so. That is what helps SFF180 to grow as a channel. You can also support the channel at my TeePublic store, where you will find t-shirts and other cool merchandise. All right? So thank you again, and until I see all of you awesome folks next time, happy reading.